Mr. Toastmaster. Toastmasters, lend me your ears. Do you ever wake up in the morning and think to yourself, what the heck am I going to wear today? Now, as seemingly mundane and innocent as that question sounds, it is a decision we do every day that is rooted in fear. Fear. Those senses of anxiety and those senses that we want to avert completely in our lives because we feel uncomfortable, we feel anxious. Fear of being judged, fear of being outcasted, just for simply the way we look. I had an experiment on Tuesday. I decided to dress as a spontan warrior and go about my regular day. Started going to Starbucks. The drive-through was awesome until I got to the window. But it's amazing. People, they initially smile because they think it's rather funny. Now they're not laughing with me because I didn't say anything funny. I just looked funny. And then I went to the deli clerk at Save-On. That was also pleasurable. But the most funny thing was when I went to pick up my kids from school. Yeah, there were some looks. The president of the PAC, the advisory council, they didn't know who the heck I was. But it's interesting. I make fun of fear because that's just for me how I deal with things. I tend to laugh. I like to make a joke of it all. But to understand fear, you really have to know what type of fear you're dealing with. And there's two types. You have rational fears and you have irrational fears. I'm going to talk for a second on irrational fears. These are the ones that you try, in certain situations are called phobias, and when I say you try to avoid these things at all expenses. No matter what, you just don't want to do it. Some people have a fear of flying, and they'll do anything they can not to take a plane. Meanwhile, they'll get in their car and they'll drive 100 miles thinking that that's safer. But statistically speaking, it's actually more dangerous to get in a car than it is to get in a plane. But that's an irrational fear. I can talk about one irrational fear that I have. When I was 7, and as much as I like to think of myself as a big warrior, I hate spiders. Hate them! So much so that I called my 5-year-old daughter over to take my shoe and chase them around the room and make them senseless. She's got no problem doing that. I can't do it. Is that a rational fear? Heck no. I'm 205 pounds. I can take on that little dude. But I don't. And it's out of fear. But that's okay. But far worse than irrational fears, I'll tell you all, my friends, is the rational fears. These are fears that hold us back in life. We determine the path that we follow based on pleasure and pain. And we fear pain. We really do. We don't want to get hurt. We don't want to put ourselves on a limb. So we will modify the decisions we make daily based on this fear. How to rationalize these fears? Well, lots of different ways. Some people are afraid of failure. And if you're afraid to make mistakes, you're going to change the decisions you make daily. For example, if you're an artist, you may decide not to use a certain color. You're going to stifle your creativity based on you're afraid of making a mistake. And that might cause you that job or that opportunity to bid on a new contract. But you don't grow personally. You don't grow from the inside out. You don't improve yourself as a person unless you make mistakes. We all know that. A lot of us here, at some point or another, if you're like me, had a fear of public speaking. And what do we do every day? We get dressed up as warriors. We come to Toastmasters. And we get in front of our fear. There's a solution to beating your fears, people. And you know what that is? Do you know? Did I scare you? Maybe not. Maybe a little bit. I mean, I saw me coming down the street. Worried. Especially when it's not Halloween. Fear. You just gotta face it. You gotta get scared every once in a while. And remarkable things happen when you're scared. There's been men in the middle of the forest. They get pinned under a tree, have no choice but to take their little penknife and cut their own limb off to escape. Adrenaline's pumping. They're scared they're going to die. But they go through an extreme process internally to deal with that fear and to overcome it. There's mothers who will have a child pinned under a car, and you'll hear about them moving this 1,500-pound vehicle off of their child. How did they do that? Well, it's embracing the fear and dealing with it and externalizing it in the outside world. Do something in a controlled environment. I want you to go out and get scared. I want you to do something you're not comfortable with. I don't know ballroom dancing, but you know what? I might go try it. I'm going to get uncomfortable. Because the number one thing with dealing with fears is getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. If there's anything you take from my speech, besides me dressed up as a Spartan warrior, it's that I want you to get scared. I want you to start living your life. I want you to go out and do something crazy. Because you know what? After you do that, and you realize it really wasn't all that bad, you're going to grow. And you will awaken that warrior within you. So again, go get scared, people. Or else, I just might show up at the doorstep.
And you don't want to see me when I'm angry.
Mr. Toastmaster.